Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review for a TV episode adaptation from the 90s of the Goosebumps show of a particular book I just read and reviewed the other day. Well, actually it's the same day that you're watching this. I recorded the review the other day before I uploaded. But anyway, it was Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, and this is Season 1, Episode 8. Of course, I have it on my illegal bootleg set because for whatever reason we still don't have a box set in Goosebumps in 2021 in America. You have to buy individual DVDs, and even that doesn't have all the episodes. What in the world? Anyway, this episode has a lot of good stuff to talk about. I'm really excited about it. There are some changes from the original book that I do like. I do like some certain things about this, and then there's some things that are kind of a wacky choice. This will be spoiler-free in case you haven't seen the episode, so you can watch this even if you haven't read the book. I recommend reading the book first before you watch the episode, but either way you go, you can't really go wrong. It's a pretty good episode. I actually liked it. I thought it was kind of spooky, actually. I was kind of surprised with that when it came to the book, too. The book had a good blend of humor and horror, and the scarier aspects really got to me, but I'll get to the premise in a moment. It's directed by William Fruet, or Fruit, F-R-U-E-T. I talk about him a lot. He's actually a guy who directed Haunted Mask, Part 1 and Part 2. Attack of the Mutant Part 1 and Part 2, Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, all kinds of big-name stories that you love and I love, and kind of bring the emphasis to that old Goosebumps TV show that we all love and adore if you happen to be watching this, more than likely. William Fruet and Timothy Bond are two of the most important people who ever directed Goosebumps episodes. They directed tons of them, and this is a great example, too, of one of his best ones, surprisingly. Out of a small 20-minute-long episode, what he did with this was really surprising to me, how much he was able to bring to the table here and do something really fun, because these are low-budget episodes. This one seems to be a little bit not on like budget par with like Night of the Living Dummy 3 Part 1 and Part 2, or even Haunted Mask Part 1 and Part 2, or Attack of the Mutant. It's kind of like Attack of the Jack-O-Lantern situation where they have some neat, crafty, cool things and some special effects, but they mostly have a really low budget here, and he actually utilizes it very well. Again, being the guy who directed Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, it doesn't surprise me. Really great guy, really enjoy his work here. Anyway, of course, this premiered on December 8th, 1995. I was barely one. That's so weird. So, it actually stars some people that we know. Ben Cook, for example, was in Welcome to Dead House, and he was in another one, too. I forgot what other episode he was in, but he was in something else as well. You also have, what is her name? Erica Luttrell, who played Kim in this episode, Kim Lee Chin, which was clearly an Asian character in the book, and now she's black. But she's also the girl who played the main character in Attack of the Jack-O-Lanterns, who William Fruet directed. So that's cool. She's here. She's good as Kim. I noticed on the IMDb page they just list her as Kim, so that means in the credits of the episode they probably just call her Kim, too. They got rid of the Lee Chin. You'd think the way SJWs are, they'd probably be throwing a fit about this now, but I guess not. It doesn't matter in the 90s. Anyway, we also have Aaron, or Aaron, I think it's Aaron, Tager, who plays Dr. Shriek, which we'll talk about his character a little bit in this review as well. However, he also happens to be the guy who played the voice, I believe the voice of Zeebo, the clown, on Are You Afraid of the Dark, one of the earlier episodes of that show that scared everybody. You remember the episode about the doors in that amusement park thing that kid goes in and he has to steal the nose off of Zeebo the clown, and he starts hearing those noises of Zeebo making noises and speaking to him in his house when he's home alone at night and stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Really enjoyed that. A lot of talent here. A lot of really good talent here. I really enjoyed this. There's a lot of fun to be had with this episode. I do think I prefer the book. But I don't hate the episode at all. I actually really enjoy this. One of the better episodes when it comes to the low-budget style of this series, this old, wonderful show that I love and my whole channel is based around pretty much. I really liked it. I thought there was a lot of good stuff here. Pretty decent settings, pretty decent locations picked out for this episode. Essentially, our main character, Jerome, whatever his name is, he and his parents have moved into a new town, a new house, and he's just kind of a goofy kid. He kind of stays in his own world, unlike in the book where he's just kind of a constant prankster. He's always pranking his parents and scaring the crap out of his parents. I love that. It's one of my favorite parts of the book that I forgot to talk about in my book review for the actual novel. I really like that character in the book, and in this episode, he's not entirely like that. Ben Cook is good, don't get me wrong. Ben Cook actually does a very good job in every Goosebumps episode I've seen him in, out of the 3 he's done. But I really like him here. I think he worked really well as our main character. He's a likable kid, he can act. He's not horrific like that kid from Say Cheese and Die Again. That episode, the one that didn't have Ryan Gosling in it. It's, you know, it is what it is. Now, he and his friend Kim kind of become friends as well now that he's in this town that he's never lived in before. Anyway, this main kid, Jerry, Jerome, whatever you want to call him, unlike in the book, he kind of stays in his head all the time. He doesn't really like reality, where he's moved in this new neighborhood. He's kind of just playing by himself in his house, playing Army Commando type stuff, sneaking around the basement and everything. Now, when they get into this house, unlike in the book, they happen to find a very nice piano being played in the basement. Well, the son does, Jerry, whatever. He finds the piano being played in the basement. In the book, it was in the attic, and he didn't hear the playing until at nighttime, but apparently this is in the daytime in this situation. And the mom and dad offer to get him piano lessons if he wants to do it. He says, yeah, he wants to. They move it upstairs and everything. They have him ready to go. They get a guy named Dr. Shriek to come in and play, or teach him how to play the piano. However, Dr. Shriek is a very odd man. He kind of looks like Santa Claus even in this episode, like he's supposed to, just like in the book. And the thing with Dr. Shriek, he's a very odd man. Very jolly, very friendly, very odd. He's constantly messing with Jerry's hands and looking at his hands and going, like he'll cup one hand and he'll be like, excellent hands, and like flipping them over, and it's real weird and really uncomfortable. And it's even worse, I talked about it in my book review, it's really odd and uncomfortable to listen to it and think about it and even picture that in your head when you're when you're reading that book. When you're watching it happen in real life in this episode, it's more uncomfortable, it's more unsettling, more gross in the worst possible ways. Dr. Shriek, the actor Aaron Tager, great job. Really, really great job. Really enjoyed his performance here. I think for the most part, everybody brings their A game for the what you can bring an A game for a Goosebumps episode. They brought their A game. Nobody was bad. Nobody was really off-putting or like the one standout bad, in my opinion, from what I remember. It's been a couple of days since I watched this episode, but I don't remember anything sticking out too bad. I think the music is pretty good. I actually like that one melody they play, which is apparently just a copyright-free song, public domain song, that they have in this for the ghost that plays the music on the piano that's apparently haunted. The house is haunted, but it's mainly the piano that's haunted. Not a spoiler. It's kind of the point of the episode for the most part. There is a woman who is playing the piano in the middle of the night, and of course Jerry keeps hearing her play the piano. He keeps sneaking down there to see what's going on. He sees this thing, and this is where the special effects kind of get a little wonky here, especially towards the end with a certain reveal about that monster. The ghost is creepy. I mean, really creepy here and in the book. If I had seen this episode when I was a kid, it would have terrified me. I had never seen this episode until now for the first time ever, and it was eerie enough to put me in a weird mood when I was watching it. Just like I could picture the terror my little soul would have had back in the day if I had watched this when I was a child getting into Goosebumps. Like what Not a Living Dummy 3, as much as I loved it, scared me to death when I was a kid. So did Haunted Mask Part 1 and Part 2, or Haunted Mask 1 and 2, both of their parts. There are certain things from Goosebumps that genuinely traumatized me and I think made me a horror fan more than I ever was, even though I'd kind of seen things like Halloween and Friday the 13th up till that point. I probably shouldn't have, but I had. And it got to me pretty bad. But there's a way they have this ghost look, kind of like they took a person and like made them a CGI image that's like pasted onto a background, sort of kind of. It doesn't look bad, it just kind of looks dated. Very, very dated. They're kind of shimmering, and at one point you're supposed to see something about this character, a certain trait, in like the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the episode. And where they have that CGI effect on the camera of her shimmering around, being very ghostly and ghastly, number one, you can't see the makeup on her face, which is kind of almost like her skin is so tight that it looks like it's a skull almost, but it's not a skull, which is kind of sad they didn't do the really creepy, terrifying part from the book that I really loved. If you read the book, you know what I'm talking about. It was great. Such a great book. The book is scarier than the episode, in my opinion. If you want to scare your kids, this is the book to do it with. But it has some good humor in there, too, in case you're an adult and want some humor mixed in with your terror. You can get it. This is pretty solid. I like the makeup on that ghost lady, but again, the shimmering effect kind of ruined some of the reveals about her character. I don't want to tell you too much, but a certain physical trait about her is ruined as a reveal because you can't really make out what you're seeing when you're looking at her when she reveals this to you, or to the audience, or to the main character, Jerry, or whatever. And it's a shame, frankly, because they did really well with the makeup, or at least they tried to, and I feel like the CGI special effects stuff kind of ruined that a little bit. Maybe it's nobody's particular fault, you know, but they could have just put like a glow outline around her, like most things did in the kids' shows and stuff for the 90s. I don't know. It ain't perfect. I'll be honest with you. The episode is not perfect, nor are many Goosebumps episodes. There are very few that are perfect, and this is not one of them. Piano lessons can be murder. I really like it a lot. I think everybody did a really solid job with their performances here. I think the writing is pretty decent for what it is. I think as an adaptation, it's pretty faithful. There's not a whole lot of Goosebumps episodes out there, especially the 20-minute variety, that are really focused on being almost point for point an adaptation of the actual book. And this is pretty freaking close. Now, the ending is a little bit different. And there's a big plot twist about two characters at the end of the book. Or the end of this episode, not the book. It's not in the book. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's almost to the equivalent of, like, the Darth Vader twist for Luke. And I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it. There are some creepy things, including a certain thing with Dr. Shriek that really kind of surprised me when I saw it. I could tell that that would have scared the crap out of me, too, when I was a kid. I really enjoyed the episode. I like, as an adult, as a 26-year-old man, I like being able to sit and watch something like this and be like, oh yeah, that would have petrified me as a kid. You should have seen me when I saw Gremlins for the first time. Gremlins absolutely scared me to death when I saw it for the first time. And the times that I tried to watch it after that, it still scared me. Now mind you, I was growing up on all of these slasher type stuff a lot of the time that did not scare me, had a blast with it. The biggest one that scared me out of slasher franchises was Chucky the Doll. And to survive most of those things and then have something like Chucky scare me, or something like I don't know, like The Haunted Mask really scare me. It's a very odd thing to admit. And to sit here as an adult and look back on Piano Lessons Can Be Murder's episode adaptation and to say that, yeah, that would have terrified me the way Gremlins terrified me, probably. That's odd. You know, as much as I love Are You Afraid of the Dark, there's not a whole lot of episodes I can remember going back in my thought process of being afraid of, except for one particular one involving a statue and art. That one scared me to death as a kid. If you know what episode I'm talking about, then you know. But, yeah, overall, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. I don't want to ramble on too long about it, but I really, really like this episode. I highly recommend the book before you watch this. If you watch this, you're going to get the general gist of exactly what's going to happen in the book, but there are some changes that are worth reading the book and seeing the episode for if you want one and have not really wanted to see or read the other. You're going to get a lot of different experiences here, for the most part, but there's some really great stuff in both. I really like both. Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. What did you guys think about this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. If I had to rate the episode on a 5-star basis, if it weren't for that shimmering effect, and there's kind of a rushed nature to some of the episode, but what episode of a 20-minute show is not going to be kind of rushed? Aside from the rushed nature of some aspects of this, some of the little bit of choppier editing, I will say that if that shimmering effect was removed from the ghost of the piano, it would have easily been a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's fair to do that. I mean, I know Goosebumps is limited, but 5 out of 5 to me is like Night of the Living Dummy 3, Haunted Mask 2, stuff like that. It is not something like this that has some clear-cut flaws that could have been solved and seemed to me like they were a way of watering down scares for kids, which I understand because this one's pretty scary. Even if you don't have the ghost shimmering, and this would have been pretty scary as is. So, I don't know. I'd give it a 4 out of 5 stars in total. I really want to give it a 5 because I really, really liked it and I really love the book. But that ending is a little weird too with that twist I was talking about. Overall, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it a lot. I want to thank people like Grayson, the Goosebumps Kid, and Lou, my buddy Lou, down in the comments, well, in this video, but thank you for being in the comments, constantly recommended this book to me, and then the episode 2 that I picked up after I read the book. I really enjoyed both. I actually just read Be Careful What You Wish For. Of course, it's going to be the next review after this particular video. It's going to be a book review. I'm going to watch the episode of that, God willing. I'm going to do a review on that as well, so that you guys can see me react to that, because I was not the biggest fan of the book. We'll get to that when we get there. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, the book and the episode? Put your thoughts and comments down below once again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient as I ramble onward. Thank you guys. God bless you. Goodbye.